Alright, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Video Game Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about Dead Cells on the Nintendo Switch. And if you're not familiar with this game by now, first of all, I would be surprised. And secondly, it's going to be a bit of a challenge to even know. There's just so much to go over with this game, but I'll give it a shot. So first of all, I guess I would say, if if you have had your eye on this game, like if you're kind of interested in buying it, but you have kind of hesitated to pull the trigger and make the purchase, I would strongly encourage you to just go for it. It's definitely worth it, even not on sale. I think the full price is $25, and it's 100% worth $25, in my opinion. So what is it and what isn't it? Okay, let's talk about that a little bit. So it's often described as or included in top 10 lists of Metroidvania games, and that is completely inaccurate. That is not, it's not even kind of a Metroidvania. Each level is separate and distinct. It does feature branching paths, so there are multiple exits to most or maybe all levels, no, probably most levels, and depending on which exit you take, you wind up going to a different level that follows. So in that respect, it's almost more like a Castlevania 3, but still not quite, because it's a roguelite, which means that it's randomly generated to some degree. The structure or the maps of the levels themselves remain the same, but their layout changes, right? So hopefully that makes sense. And also there's permadeath, so if you die once, like, your game is over and you start over. However, there are permanent upgrades. So each time as you make progress towards unlocking permanent upgrades, the idea is that each successive playthrough, you'll get a little bit better, you'll be better equipped, and you'll hopefully make it a little bit farther each time. One thing that I do want to point out is this game. So this is an indie game, and it has received so much praise. I mean, it's been called one of the best games on Switch. It's been called one of the greatest indie games of all time, and mostly I now agree with that. When I first got the game and I played it, I thought it was solid. I thought it was like a good game, but I thought that the praise was a little overboard. And now here's the interesting thing about this. I actually enjoy the game more since I finished it, and I'm not really that type at all. Typically, when I finish a game, I'm kind of done with it. The game has to be really good for replay, and even in those cases, I wouldn't say that I like the game better after finishing it. But that's the case here. Like, that might actually be a first for me, because before I finished the game, I wasn't really sure how I felt about the random generation of the levels, and the developers do a lot of updates, some of which actually change the balance of the game, and I just felt like I wasn't sure if I ever was going to finish this game. Like, with a traditional, static, intentionally designed level layout, you can learn the game and master it, but when the game is always changing, it frustrated me. But it is eventually possible, and so part of your progress comes through, and this is really, I think, one of the cool things about it. Your progress is partially unlocking equipment and abilities and such, as you see here, but it's also partially your skill really develops as you play this game. Like, it is definitely a skill-based game, but you do kind of need those upgrades as well. So it's a combination. Now, the soundtrack that you may hear in the background is actually one of the updates. It's not the original soundtrack to the game. So the original soundtrack to the game is not at all retro wave or 8-bit in any way. It's like a, for lack of a better, like a regular video game soundtrack. And then with one of the updates, they have offered the option to do a retro style sort of 8-bit version of the original songs. And so that's what you're going to hear on all of these video clips, because that's just the setting that I had it on. I enjoy that. I love the art style. The animation is just fluid and beautiful. Oh, one thing I do definitely want to point out is that most of this footage was captured on a single playthrough, and I found a weapon that I really liked, and I stuck with it. But there are so many weapons and weapon combinations and skills and abilities and like turrets and bombs that you can throw down. I mean, really, you name it. So that's one thing that you're not really going to see on display on this video, because I kind of picked a loadout and I just stuck with it. And so that's kind of one regret that I have, is I'm not really, in the footage that I captured, I'm not really showcasing just the variety of weapons. So if that's the weapon loadout that you have can vastly change how the game kind of plays and feels. All right, and that's another that's another thing that I want to emphasize as one of this game's strongest points. It feels really good to play. Like, the character controls how you think he should control. Like, exactly. It just feels good. And so that's one comparison that I guess I would make to a Castlevania in a way, is, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of people's opinions, Castlevania just feels the way that you want it to, or the way that you expect that it should, in terms of controls and like the weight that the character has, how the character moves, etc. Another great example of that would be like the old school 2D Ninja Gaiden games, which I would say that this game has probably more of the speed of a 2D Ninja Gaiden as opposed to a 2D Castlevania, which, tends to be a bit slower. Also, the developers are amazing at dropping new releases, new versions, new patches, new expansion packs, some of which are free. And some of the free ones are pretty significant. Like, they'll add entire additional levels, enemies, weapons, etc. to the game. I mean, really a true expansion pack, and for free. Now, not all of them are for free, but there's like quite a bit that these guys are continually doing and working on, and giving back to the community. Their consumers, the people that invested in this game. They keep putting work back into their project, and I just got nothing but love and respect for that. But I think I'm running out of time here, so let's call it there, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.